We are on board number 3 in the last round of the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025. On your screen is Arjun Erigaisi, who has a chance to qualify to the candidates, but first must win this game and hope that on board 2 Anish Giri or Hans Niemann does not win. Basically, they should draw, and then if he beats Vincent, he has a chance to finish at the top. Also, Abhimanyu Mishra must not win against Vidit Gujarati. So that just shows Arjun has a chance, but quite an outside one. Meanwhile, Vincent Keymer has more control over his destiny as he's half a point ahead of Arjun. And there he is. He had an completely winning position against Matthias Bluebaum in the previous round. And if he would have won, he could very well have been right now in the sole lead and qualified to the candidates, but it's not to be. And now in the last round he has to fight Arjun Erigaisi with black pieces. Not at all easy. Will Vincent manage to recover? Handshake there after Arjun finishes his meditation routine there, and the games are about to begin. Let's go. Arjun with the white pieces. What's his first move going to be? Thinks hard and plays pawn to d4, and Vincent Keymer goes knight to f6. Vincent has to keep his winning chances alive, but it's not a tough thing to do when you're facing Arjun Erigaisi. e6, and now Arjun brings his knight out to f3, and Vincent goes pawn to b6. The Queen's Indian is on the board. He plays pawn to a3 now, and bishop goes to b7. The white knight goes to c3. We are seeing the Petrosian-Kasparov variation in the Queen's Indian. d6 played by Vincent. d5 is the main move, and I believe it's equalizing as black, but d6 is risking it. And there you see Vincent showing that, okay, today I need to fight for a win. I'm ready to even take an inferior position. And Arjun captures the center with e4. Bishop comes out to g7. This strategy can backfire really badly if you are not careful here. Bishop e2. And knight comes out to d7. Pawn to h3 played by Arjun. Just calmly making a useful move. Black castles, and Arjun brings his knight to bishop to e3. Now you see the value of h3 move. ng4 is no longer possible. a6, and we call this some kind of a hippo system with the pawns like this, castles. And now c5 played by Vincent, and Arjun naturally goes d5 to close down this bishop on b7. He takes with the pawn, and you want to take with the e pawn, because if cd, then b5 is good for black. So ed, and now this is Vincent's idea, b5, to sort of weaken the d5 square. But Arjun is like, I'm going b3. I'm not really afraid of b4 and your bishop getting activated. Queen comes to d2, and now b4 played. This is getting exciting, because after pawn takes, you will see that knight e4 is coming in, attacking the queen and winning the rook in the corner. But you mustn't do that straight away, because queen takes b4 is hanging. So a5 first, defending this pawn. Arjun goes bishop d3. And now very important for Vincent to play knight e4, and he plays it. Knight to e4, bishop takes e4, and bishop takes a1 taken. Rook takes a1, and it seems like Arjun has lost an exchange, but look at the dark squares around the black king, and you have the dark squared bishop. So knight to g5, and this can become very nasty for Vincent. Rook e8, now bishop d4, putting the bishop on that long diagonal. Yes, he plays it. And Vincent now goes queen to e7. He's just waited for a bit and now played it. And Arjun goes f3. Love this move because knight e4 to f6 could be the idea. Vincent plays rook a6, taking into control the b6 square, also defending d6. Queen comes to f4. And bishop to c8. Black has to make some moves which are not very comfortable. h4 played, but now Vincent can start getting his pieces into the game. Knight e5 does look like a good move here. And he plays it. Knight to e5. He takes on e5. Pawn takes. And queen comes back to e3. Maybe h6 followed by f5 could be very good. He goes directly f5. But this allows Arjun to push his c-pawn down the board. No, he goes knight to c5, which is also very interesting. He attacks the rook and the knights are ready to jump into the e6 square, but pins it here. And rook comes to e1. And Vincent now brings his rook to d6. Very interesting and exciting play developing. Any side can win. So much at stake here. f4 played and Vincent gets his pawn to e4. He gets a passer into the position. And now knight to f3. This is where Vincent has a very, very strong move. And it's not at all easy to find this. And he misses it. Bishop a6. Bishop e6 was the winning move. We'll look at it in more detail at the end of the game. Bishop a6 played. And now Arjun calmly goes knight to e5. Rook goes to c8. And the knight goes back to a4. You're going to trade the knights now. And it's very interesting to see that even though the material from the pawns is equal, like 6 pawns per side, black is the one who has the better chances here. Has more material, but white is so well placed in the center, which is why the position is balancing on equality. h5. And now Vincent finds an excellent move, g5. Arjun takes the pawn, f takes g5. And now rook e8 to destabilize the knight could be an idea. He goes rook c7. Pawn to g4 played. And look at the time on the clock. Vincent has 55 seconds. 3 more moves to make before move 40. And this is where things can get quite nasty. He goes rook to e7, attacking the knight. The knight drops back because if you take here, then rook takes e7 is hanging. But rook g7 moving out of the pin, attacking the g pawn, threatening the knight. Knight goes back to f2. And Vincent can chop off the pawn. This move 39 already. One more move to make and then you get 50 minutes. King f1. And now bishop c8 is a very good move. But Vincent, with very less time on the clock, goes bishop takes d5. Arjun takes it back instantly and maybe Vincent has lost his advantage here. C takes d5. And you can see Vincent's body language. He's not happy because I think he felt like there was a better move, but he just didn't have time to find it. King e2 played and now king to f8. Well, black does have now 2 extra pawns, but white has 2 knights for a rook. And Arjun goes knight to b6. Rook to b5 played. And now knight to c4, an important move. If you take on g4, the e4 pawn would be hanging. So f takes g4 taken by Vincent. But knight to d6, attacking the rook and the pawn. And Arjun goes rook to b6. He takes, knight takes e4. Now the other rook attacked. rook to h5, but now you can get rid of this pawn, which is important. And with this, the white knights are super active. Rook to f5, you have to be careful not to lose your rook in some knight fork. Rook to h3, attacking the pawn on h7. And he goes rook to e6, pinning the knight here. And king comes up to d3. Vincent goes rook f4 and attacks both the knights. You can defend them. Oh, he offers a draw as well. You can defend them with f6 or f2. And Arjun accepts it. And with that, the chances of Vincent winning this tournament and qualifying to the candidates have ended. Arjun actually missed that chance when Anish beat Hans, but Vincent could very well have made it. And his second tie break, his first tie break was same as Anish, but his second tie break was higher, and so that could have given him the chance to win the tournament. And that's the reason why right now Vincent has all the reason to be upset. He had a winning position, and look at them analyzing there. And well, these two youngsters are surely two players who we would love to see in the candidates at some point. Hopefully candidates 2026 is where they would make it. Now only the FIDE World Cup remains. Matthias Bluebaum gets the spot from the FIDE Grand Swiss. He finished second. But well, it's always very tricky when you have to make it to the final 8 players in the candidates. But I'm pretty sure that Arjun and Vincent have a long career, long successful career ahead of them. But this one was surely a very important and iconic game between them. Now let's have a look at this move. Bishop e6 was the winning move for Vincent Keymer. Very interesting move. The main point is you want to take here, and that would give you excellent position. So the first question is, what happens if I take on e6? Well, the problem is now your own knight has blocked this path. So e takes f3, and this is a very good position for black, especially because let's say rook f3, I have a4, a very important move, opening up lines with rook c8 and getting in to the camp, and I think this is winning for black. So bishop e6, if you take now with pawn takes on e6, once again the e file is closed and e takes f3 is possible with a winning position for black. So in that sense, the knight on f3 is actually hanging because you have closed down this path. So you try to move the knight to a very aggressive square, and now comes bishop d5, cd5, rook d5, attacking the knight. Knight a4, slightly similar to the game, but just that this is much better version with a check, king f2 and rook d8, and this should be winning for black. So Vincent had this chance with bishop e6 blocking the file. It's too difficult to actually play it when you have just 9 minutes, but maybe it was feasible if he had delved in deeply into this move, but he missed it. He played bishop a6 and the game eventually ended in a draw.